Hi, welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, last year saw a surge of over 1,600 applications to the Adoption Authority of Ireland by people in an effort to find members of their birth family.
Here to share his story of his adoption and the search for his birth mother is singer Paul Byrom. Good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, Paul.
Thanks so much for coming in and talking to us about this, because you grew up knowing that you were adopted.
Yeah.
What is that like? Is that difficult?
No, so I get asked this all the time, and I did get asked it a couple of times when I was a kid. I knew from the time we were born that we were, my mom and dad, we grew up in a very open house, very honest house, sometimes too honest and too open, but we definitely had there was no secrets ever in our house. And, Mom kind of ensured that we grew up kind of knowing that we were chosen. Like, she went in and chose us. When we were little kids, that's how we were kind of told. And
isn't that lovely?
Oh, it is, absolutely, yeah. And there was never a kind of like, let's keep this from them, or shrouded in mystery or whatever.
Makes you feel special though when you think you're chosen.
Yeah, it did. Oh, sure, yeah, I still do think I'm special.
I know, the only boy in the house as well, being called the chosen one.
Yeah. And so it was a nice way to kind of grow up, And I mean, even my sister told her class during the communion prep, when they were doing the family tree, that she was chosen and the rest were mistakes. So that went down like a lead balloon in a nun-run school, But it was a nice way to grow up, and because of that, then I suppose I never had an urge or a need to find anything more.
Mm-hmm.
I had felt very loved, and we got a fabulous childhood, and every opportunity I could have wanted, I got, and so I just felt very content within myself,
And that is a beautiful thing. And of course, every adoptee story can be different. But for you, your parents were told about where their baby came from.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if that was a thing that was done back then. I mean, I was adopted from an agency that was operated out of the Pro Cathedral in Dublin. And, when I was adopted, my mother and father got information, basic information, I suppose. And they were told that I was, from very good, well-to-do people, and I was born into a private nursing home, and that the girl that had me was, only 16, and that, they felt as a family it would be best to put me up for adoption. Right. So there was no mention of anything other than that. And so my mama was like, oh my God, that's great. Well, she was very appreciative, very grateful. Yeah. And so Mom sent photos, for example, for a good while, just of my progress as I was going from baby to kind of toddler. And then that was that. And so because I suppose I had this kind of lovely notion of what I had been born into, I felt, I'm grand, sure, this is great.
Yeah.
But those letters, those pictures that were being sent, obviously never went anywhere.
No, I've later found out that they never went anywhere.
And that's heartbreaking in a sense, I'm sure, to hear. Because tell us then how the process works then.
They lied to your parents.
Oh, 100% they did, yeah. 100% they did. And so, I think that's the thing that angered us the most, So, my mom was very encouraging and almost kind of pushing me to go find my birth mother in recent years. And she always kind of just used to say, Paul, will you not go try and find her? And just let's get the full circle of what happened. And more than anything else, just to thank her. And I suppose as the kind of the decades went by, you turn 30 and you go, I wonder, does she think of me? And then you'd go to 40 and I was like, oh, which is surprising to many of you that I hit 40. But so when I hit 40, I was like, I wonder, is she still around? What's the story there? And I kind of, more than anything else, I wanted her to know that I was happy and that I was in a good place in life, and that I was very grateful. And that she had absolutely nothing to feel guilty about. Okay. Because I can only imagine what it must be like to go through the process. I think a lot of people don't give it a huge amount of thought, really, how hugely difficult it must be to make that decision to put your child up to adopt. And so to be born then into such a wonderful family, I had nothing but love and gratitude for this lady. And so I really wanted to find her and make sure that she wasn't living life full of guilt.
So how did the process start?
It was a bit of a relaxed process for me. I mean, I just sent in, back in 2021, I just sent an application to the Adoption Authority of Ireland. You go online, you just fill it out, and seemed pretty straightforward, and that was fine. And then I discovered that nothing's straightforward in Ireland. In October, then I got like an email saying that I had to get documents signed by a guard to verify me and get me approved for the application. So this went on, and then I was handed over to Tusla, and then Tusla went looking, and then I'd hear nothing for months on end, and then I'd follow up, and then this went back and forth for quite a while. And then I got the basic information sent to me, and it was at that point I realized things weren't as they seemed. And like literally a 2-page document with very minimal information on it came through, which said that I was born into a mothers and babies home, which came as a massive shock. I didn't think mothers and babies homes were kind of still operating in '79. I mean, we grew up knowing Christine Buckley. Christine was a wonderful woman, and she obviously shed a lot of light on Golden Bridge and the likes of. And so I always just assumed it was that generation, and it was just somebody else's. You know, I was born into a nursing home, and of course, as soon as I discovered that, then the urgency kicked in. I was like, I need to find this girl who was now a woman, but and I needed to find out the truth.
And Paul, I can just imagine, because the things that are coming out about mother and baby homes over the past decade have been horrific. And we've had, you know, babies been taken, babies being sold to America. When you did meet your birth mother, what happened to her?
Well, I mean, it took a while to get to that point, and then eventually I actually met on my birthday in 2023. And I had Googled St. Patrick's. As soon as I heard, I Googled St. Patrick's, and you're like, dear God, they like sell babies to Americans here. You know, how was I not sold to Americans? And how did it come about? I couldn't understand what had happened. So when I met her, I mean, lovely, lovely lady. As soon as I walked into the room, she kind of said, "Oh my God, I reminded her immediately of a relative of hers." And, you know, very softly spoken, very pragmatic, black and white kind of person. You know, there was no frills or thrills. It was a very honest and open conversation. And she just asked me straight off, "Did you ever get the orange teddy bear I left in your cot for you?" It was a little dog. And I said, "No." And then I asked her, "Did you get the photos?" And she said, "No." And my sister had actually made a little photo album of when I was a baby right through to being, you know, present day, so that we could look through it together. And as she looked at it, she came to my mom and she just put her hand on my mom and she said, that's the life I wanted for you. So she was very grateful. And, you know, me in turn, I was very grateful to her, you know, and we're very grateful to her. And, you know, it was a very emotional thing. I mean, she only got a couple of hours with me, and she walked from the labour ward back to the mothers and babies home on her own. And I was just left. And she thought I was going the next day to a family. And I was left for 3 weeks in that ward.
You were just left.
So what happened? So she gave birth and just had to go off on her own, and then a lay person working there brought her to you for what?
Yeah, well, so the lay person kind of brought me into her to see her before she left the ward. And she said, all I remember, I had a couple of hours with you, and she said, all I remember is your little hand on my thumb. And that was it. For
the rest of her life.
That was it.
And just hoped that you would keep that orange teddy.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking, and she had filed to, you know, her interest in meeting me 16 years previous to mine. But of course, she had no power in that element, you know, and so I had to she had to wait until I got the ball rolling, you know. And then when I was told there was a match, I then subsequently get a 20-page document sent out to me from like the Freedom of Information Department or something, saying you need to fill this out in order for us to start the process. I'm like, sorry, what? I was like, this is ludicrous. So I rang up and
But hold on, you were told there is a match. Like they knew who your birth mother was.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Yeah. That was another department, of course.
Bye-bye, go away,
That's
and here we go, we're going to do this over.
Look at this department.
You must have been ready to scream the place down.
Well, I did.
Oh, you did?
So, like, I'm a lovely person on television, but I can often be angry. And so...
the tenor voice came out.
Yeah, and look, at that stage I was frustrated and I was angry, and all the lies were coming, you know, to the fore. And I suppose the whole point of this, is there's lots of people out in the country that are doing the same as me right now and are hemming and hawing about it. And I was half-hearted initially, and I suppose if it had been quite complicated as it proved to be, I could have easily got, you know, just, forget it, you know, can't be arsed. So, you know, I'd say to people to just to hang tight and to go for it. And like, I really want this to be a positive thing for people, you know, because my story has ended well. I've a lovely relationship with my birth mother. My mom is still mom. She will always be mom. And in fairness to my birth mother, she was like, if that attitude ever changes, I'll give you a kick in the arse. So mom is mom.
Did she know who you were?
Yeah,
she knew of me, which is gas. Like, so she knew of Paul Byrom, so to speak. And,
wow.
And so she never
Can she
put
sing?
two and two together. No, she says absolutely
Okay,
not.
right,
So
okay.
that brings up the whole nature and nurture
It's
thing.
weird,
Yeah, because
isn't
my
it?
mom is very musical, like plays the piano, and I grew up in a musical house. And again, I was very lucky because I had the musical ability. If I had been born into another family that was, let's say, Tommy's family, a big sporting family or something, I would have ended up being
playing for Ireland now.
Well, I don't think, Tommy, you haven't seen me.
Johnny
I was the
Sexton.
only rugby player in Backer College that came off the pitch in clean rugby gear.
We all do a bit of singing after a rugby match too. I tell you what, you would have found your way. It's an amazing story.
It is,
and it is, you know, such a happy ending, but at the same time, such a heartbreak and difficult times for, I'm sure, your birth mum, yourself.
Well, it was, but I think that was the heartbreaking part. But now we're in a point where it's like, you know, we've got the answers. You can be angry, you can carry anger, you can look for answers, you can look for people to blame. Look, there's people that have gone through a hell of a lot worse than I will ever go through, and they never got answers and they never got anybody accountable. And that is the shame of the Catholic Church. That's on them. It's not on us to carry. And so you move forward with positivity. But I do say to anybody that's out there, you know, if you're looking or you're thinking of looking for your birth mother, and every story is different, obviously, but the comfort that you can give to somebody that put a child up for adoption by finding them and just letting them know that you're okay is immeasurable. And I couldn't suggest it enough. It mightn't always end well. I will say that. I don't want to be saying it mightn't always end well, but you know what? It's better known than not known. So that's why I would kind of be on here this morning suggesting.